I made this very important point the other day on this climate change open discussion group, and it was roughly speaking as follows. It was this point about using hemp for fuel and to use it in rotations with our other crops instead of using natural gas fertilizers, which is really essential. We really need to be doing this because we only have about 30 years of natural gas left, and hence we'll only be able to use, that natural gas in the harbour process to make ammonium nitrate for about another 30 years or so. And after that, we'll have to find something to replace all the natural gas fertilizer, all the nitram, the ammonium nitrate that we spread on fields, on crops, right? So yeah, this is a huge issue. This is a huge and pressing issue in resource security, and these sort of climate change types don't really quite understand the importance of it. They don't quite understand the importance of it as it relates to food security and this sort of thing. And really, I don't think that we have much of an alternative other than using hemp in rotations with our other crops. And like, you just get these awful little types like popping up. I mean, you just know they know nothing at all about agriculture, and they know nothing at all about, well, resource security particularly. And they're like, oh, but you got to think about land use and so on. It's like, you think I haven't thought about that? Oh, come on, I'm from a farming background. That's the first thing I thought about. Like, think about land use. Like, what do you mean by land use? Okay, so I take it by that you mean like we'll lose our food supply, or we'll lose livestock feed if we start growing hemp crops. So, do you know how tall hemp crops can get? They grow to about the same height as the machines harvesting them. They go like twice the height of a maize crop. It's really a fantastic, amazing plant, and it's criminal really that we haven't been using it in agriculture up until this point. And when it comes to producing the oils from the plant, like, we can get the oil from it also, and we can then use the plant as livestock feed. We get both out of it. That's the miracle of hemp, really. That's the great thing about the crop. We don't lose any livestock feed. We don't have to worry so much about land use. More like we have to worry about where the fertilizer is going to come from and using it in rotations. Like, because, well, as I said, we'll be losing our natural gas fertilizer supply. So it's kind of an erroneous argument to make that sort of claim that we can't use all the land for hemp, we won't be able to grow enough oil. But I think we will be able to grow enough oil. And if push comes to shove, we can always dilute the oil down with alcohol and use that in internal combustion engines. And yeah, that was it. It was an argument over electric vehicles. I was saying, like, I really don't think we might be able to convert all the vehicles in the West to electric vehicles. And I don't think electric vehicles are a bad thing. I really don't at all. I think they are better for the environment than fossil fuel burning internal combustion engines. But I still think that the internal combustion engine is a very valuable thing. I think if we had a sustainable supply of biofuel, we really would be able to keep the internal combustion engine. And so long as it doesn't come from palm oil, so long as it doesn't come from soy oil on deforested rainforests, then I think it's all to the good, really. And yeah, I think we could get really staggering amounts of biofuel out of just using hemp in rotations with other crops once every 4 years or so, or really just growing more hemp, and really growing more hemp instead of maize, and using the hemp, as I said, as livestock feed, which it produces so much yield, right? There's so much hemp available to use. You'll be able to use the same amount of it as silage for cattle, which is what the maize goes into mostly, and we'll be able to thereafter take a portion of the crop to use that as textiles, to use it as plastic, to use it as building materials if need be, and to derive the oil from it. After we get the oil from it, then use the remainder as livestock feed, right? And then, like we do with soy, we use that, soy meal goes to feed animals because that's all it's good for. That's what the remainder of the crop is. Once the oil has been taken out of it, the soy oil that goes into feeding humans, and it also goes into biofuel production. So this is what you know about when you know about agriculture for real. It's like vegans just can't seem to get their head around this either. And I know loads of people in that climate activist group are either vegan sympathising, or they sympathise with the veganic arguments from climate change and livestock emissions and this sort of crap, and they can't see their way into understanding that crops can have a duality of function. They can be used to feed livestock, yes. Well, they usually are. For livestock feed or bedding, I should say. But then we can also derive a portion of the crop that we use for human consumption. And the same would be true of hemp. And we should have never made cannabis illegal. It was a dreadful, dreadful mistake. By now we'd have cannabis plants growing in fields the size of 3-story buildings, harvesting them with enormous machines you wouldn't see outside the mining industry really ordinarily. Huge combines, huge tractors, taking down these huge selectively bred hemp plants, which we could have accomplished by now with genetic engineering had we had the mind to really. And driving basically all the oil we need from hemp. And that's why it was made illegal in the first place. It was made illegal because it's such a huge threat to the oil industry. It was a huge threat to the paper industry. It was a huge threat to DuPont and their nylon creations using petroleum or using crude oil. Really, I think is to create nylon, a fabric that everyone hates, of course. I don't think anyone really is a huge fan of nylon, are they? I think it's sort of scratchy and itchy, horrible. And we're making lovely hemp clothes instead, which are comfortable and durable and all this stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's considering yield. That's the major thing with hemp. It's considering how versatile it is. It's the most versatile crop we could possibly cultivate. As I said, used for oil, textiles, livestock feed, medicine, plastic, building materials, carbon sequestration if you must, via building materials and so on, or carbon sequestration by turning it into plastic, textiles. It's such a valuable crop. We need it, we need it, we need it. We need it really soon as well. Because so much of the natural gas fertilizer used in Europe comes from Russia, basically. Well, the natural gas comes from Russia. Then via the harbour process, we extract nitrogen from the air, bond it to the methane, right, the natural gas. I'm not quite sure how the fucking harbour process works, but something like that, isn't it? Is it C4NH? Whatever. But yeah, that is why we need hemp. And if you don't believe in that, if you don't believe in hemp agriculture, like, what are you as an environmentalist, really? Promotes soil health, it destroys pathogenic bacteria in soils, that help biodiversity and things, that clean the air of particles, carbon dioxide. It will encourage mycorrhizal networks and more life, earthworms, insects in the soils and so on. As well, it's a magical plant. It's a great plant. It's part of nature. It's a wonderful thing. And we've engaged in this savage and doomed and potentially dooming ourselves quest to try and eliminate it from the planet, which is just disgusting. And we need it back. And it was just over profits to begin with, profits from mostly oil money, of course. And we do need hemp back, i.e. cannabis, to be grown industrially, so that we can save our planet and ourselves.